The plain of Ravnica is, in the opinion of many, including myself, one of the most interesting and vibrant settings in the game of Magic the Gathering. But it is also a setting for adventures in the game of Dungeons and Dragons, and a very fascinating one. So come join us as we explore the guilds of Ravnica in D&D 5e. Hi everyone, and welcome to another captivating episode of The Dungeon Crashers. I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapeel. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe, and to turn on notifications, and if you enjoy this video, be sure to share it with your friends. Today we're doing a build request for Anna the Elephant, who appropriately wanted a Loxodon character, more specifically a Bladesinger focused on grappling. Guy immediately responded that this was a fun and challenging idea and wanted to get right on it. It is definitely both. In some ways, a Loxodon is a great choice. Natural armor based on Constitution is great for a wizard and a grappler, and allows for strength-based Bladesinger, which is great. The Loxodon ability boosts are less than optimal, however. Constitution is fine, but getting wisdom instead of strength or intelligence doesn't do us much good. We could, of course, use the flexible ability scores from Monsters of the Multiverse or Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, but we prefer to use the races as printed unless there is an update. Partially because we don't know what everyone's DM allows in their campaign, and partially because we just like the challenge. However, if your campaign allows Loxodon and flexible ability scores, feel free to make a few tweaks to this build. Loxodon are races from the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, and since we are using a Ravnica race, we decided to go ahead and start the series of builds based on the Ravnica guilds. We already had the first build in the series finished. It is a member of the Rakdos cult, and we will put a link to it at the end of this video. This build will be a member of the Azorius Senate, which is the guild that both makes and enforces the laws of Ravnica. They represent the blue and white color pair in the Magic game, which is all about control, and the Azorius do a good job at representing that. They place their influence in every aspect of life found in the giant world city of Ravnica. While they share their power with the other guilds, and are in some cases actively opposed by them, they still maintain a great deal of control and are, at least in their own eyes, the ruling power. Our character, of course, does not begin its career as a Senate or other powerful entity. Our character begins as a humble beat cop, patrolling the streets, curbing riots by the Gruul, or muggings by the Rakdos, sometimes even stopping an Orzhov drug dealer or loan shark. Your job ideally involves bringing in perpetrators for trial, or better yet, stopping crimes before they even happen. But sometimes force is called for, and you are not above using your weapon or magic when someone resists lawful arrest.
Loxodon are an elephantine race, standing over 7 feet tall and are mostly humanoid but strongly built and with the head of an elephant, complete with tusks, and a trunk. While there are Loxodon in every guild, they favor the Selesnya Conclave by a large margin, with the Azorius being the next most common home for them. A Loxodon among the Gruul or Rakdos is a very rare thing indeed. Loxodon are medium creatures standing between 7 and 8 feet tall and weighing between 300 and 400 pounds. They have powerful build and count as a large for the purpose of the weight they can lift or carry, and their move is 30 feet. Loxodon are calm and reasoned people, and tend towards lawful alignment. They have an ability called Loxodon Serenity, that gives them advantage on saves against being charmed or frightened. They have natural armor, allowing their armor class to be 12 plus Constitution modifier, unless their armor would be better. This doesn't allow you to add dexterity to your armor class, and doesn't work with unarmored defense or shields. They also have a trunk that can lift up to 5 times their strength score, and can also be used to grapple and make unarmed strikes, which is great for this character. It can't use weapons or shields, perform somatic components, or other things that require a lot of coordination. The trunk also gives them keen smell, which gives advantage on perception, survival, and investigation checks that involve smell. And Loxodons have their own language and can speak that as well as common. They get a +2 bonus to their Constitution score and a +1 to Wisdom. Using point buy, we put a 15 on Strength. We're going to make it 16 later with a feat. We put 8 on Dexterity. Our natural armor is not affected by Dexterity, so all we are losing is a bit of initiative and a penalty to skills we aren't likely to be using. We put a 14 in Constitution, making it 16 with the racial bonus, and we put a 15 in Intelligence and a 10 in Wisdom, which will be 11 after the racial bonus. We'll eventually boost it to 12 to help with Perception and Insight. Lastly, we put an 8 in Charisma. Social skills could be useful for cop, but you are an arrester, and aren't the sort to go undercover or engage in hostage negotiations.
The Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica has backgrounds for members of each guild, and we are taking the Azorius Functionary background. It grants the usual benefits that you would expect from backgrounds, and it also adds spells to any class list you have for each spell level, and we will discuss them when they become available. If you are playing this race but not using Ravnica backgrounds, the City Watch background would suit this character well. As a member of the Azorius, you gain the skills Insight and Intimidation in 2 languages of your choice. Goblin would be a good choice, as goblins are common among the Gruul and the Rakdos. Elven or Vidalcan could also be very useful, as many of your superiors will speak those languages. Insight will be helpful in determining if someone is being suspicious or if the subject is lying, and Intimidation will help compensate for your low charisma when exercising your authority. Speaking of authority, your guild affiliation gives you quite a bit. The general population respects and even fears you, and people generally assume you have the right to be wherever you are. Your guild insignia can also get you an audience with most people you might want to speak with, but this could cause more problems than it solves if you offend the powerful individual, and if you abuse this authority, you could get in trouble with your superiors. We are going to have every level of this build be wizard. Our first Ravnica build was a single class paladin, and we decided to do a single class character for all the guilds. Those who follow us regularly know that we do a lot of multi-classing here on the Dungeon Crashers. Multi-classing gives a lot of options that can make a fun and flavorful character, but it isn't necessarily more powerful. Class abilities are designed to be strong at the level you get them, and multi-classing can put them off to later levels when they might have less impact. This is especially true for straight casters who like to get higher level spells as soon as possible. This character doesn't need any multi-classing to be strong. Bladesinger gives everything we should need to be both a strong caster and strong in melee. At first level wizard, we gain 2 skills from the wizard list, and we want Investigation and Arcana. Investigation will help us find the bad guys, and Arcana will help us be a good wizard. We get proficiency with daggers, darts, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. And we can carry a staff and a dagger as part of our uniform. We will be able to upgrade the staff later. We also get proficiency with intelligence and wisdom saves. Of course, we get spellcasting. Intelligence is our casting modifier, and although our bonus of +2 is good, it could be better, and we are going to need to improve our strength and constitution as well, so we're going to focus on spells that don't require attack rolls or saves when possible. We are prepared caster and have a spell book. We can prepare a number of spells per day equal to our intelligence modifier plus our level, so 3 for now. And we can only prepare spells that are in our spell book. We begin play with 6 spells in our spell book, and we also know 3 cantrips. We are a ritual caster and can cast any spell with a ritual tag by spending 10 minutes instead of a spell slot. We can do this even if we don't have the spell prepared, as long as it is in our spell book and we have the spell book in our possession. Our cantrips are Booming Blade, which is more powerful to us at this level than just making an attack, and it is helpful in detaining suspects. We also want Ray of Frost for a good range attack that also slows enemies, which will help us in apprehending them. The Azorius Functionary background adds message and friends to the wizard list for us, but they are already on it. We are taking message as our last cantrip anyway, because it will help us to communicate privately with our fellow officers. Our background also adds the spells Command and Ensnaring Strike to our list, which are both good additions, and we are adding both to our book. We are also taking Detect Magic, Shield, Silvery Barbs, and Sleep. Absorb Elements could also be a good alternative to Silvery Barbs. In the description of the Azorius Functionary, it says the spells often take the form of chains of runes and glowing fields, so our Ensnaring Strike might entangle them up in arcane symbols instead of vines, and our Shield spell might look like a giant symbol of warding. Detect Magic is a ritual, so we don't need to prepare it, so for our prepared spells, we should take Shield and Sleep. And for our third spell, both Ensnaring Strike and Command are excellent for making an arrest, but Silvery Barbs can give you a huge advantage in combat. We also gain Arcane Recovery, regaining half our level rounded up in spell slots on a short rest. At this level, we have 2 first level spell slots, so we might quickly find ourselves falling back on melee or cantrips. Currently, we are stronger casting than fighting in melee. Sleep is especially good at taking down low challenge rating enemies. Our strength modifier is good, but not great, so we need to be careful who we try to grapple, but it is still a solid option for restraining a suspect.
At second level wizard, we gain a 3rd first level spell slot and can add 2 more spells to our spell book. We want to add Comprehend Languages, which is a ritual and lasts for an hour, so outside of combat situations, we could have it up at all times. We also want Find Familiar, also a ritual, and a familiar, particularly one with flying, can be a huge asset on patrol. I would suggest an owl or an eagle, but a raven's ability to mimic speech could be incredibly useful. A familiar can't attack in combat, but can use the help action, which could give you advantage on attack rolls. We also get our arcane tradition, which is Blade Singer. We get training in War and Song, which gives us proficiency with light armor, which we don't need. The Perform skill, which will make up for our low charisma when we sing our Blade Song, and a single one-handed melee weapon, which we will need because we can't use our quarterstaff two-handed while blade singing, so we'll take a weapon with a d8 damage dice. I like a flail because it fits the image I have for this character, but a longsword or battle axe would be just as good. For magic players, a loxodon with a warhammer would be very appropriate. We also get the Blade Song, which we can invoke a number of times for long rest equal to our proficiency modifier. You use a bonus action to invoke it, and for 1 minute you gain a bonus to armor class equal to your intelligence modifier, a bonus to concentration saves equal to your intelligence modifier, advantage on acrobatics checks, and an additional 10-foot walking speed. It ends early if you are incapacitated, don heavy or medium armor, use a shield, or use two hands to attack with a weapon. Now there's a little bit of a gray area on how this applies to two-weapon fighting. In our campaign, two-weapon fighting ends the Blade Song, but the way the rule is written seems to mean that it only ends the Blade Song if you use a weapon two-handed, so talk to your DM. But it doesn't matter with this character, as we don't want light weapons and we want a hand free for spellcasting. At 3rd level Wizard, we gain a 4th first level spell slot and 2 second level spell slots, and can add 2 more spells to our book. Our background adds Arcane Lock and Calm Emotions and Hold Person to our spell list, but we don't want any of them for now. The first we want is Mirror Image, which is an excellent defensive spell that doesn't require concentration. The second is Mind Spike. The target makes a wisdom save and takes 3d8 damage on a failed save and half on a success. Also on a failed save, the target's location is known to you until the spell ends, as long as you're on the same plane, and the target cannot become hidden from you, and if it is invisible, it gains no benefit from that condition against you.
At 4th level Wizard, we gain an ability score improvement or feat, and we are going to take the Tavern Brawler feat. This is really the only feat you need to be a grappler. Don't take the Grappler feat, it will actually make you worse at grappling and doesn't give you anything you need. Tavern Brawler gives you a +1 to strength or constitution, and we want to make our strength 16. It also makes us proficient with unarmed strikes and improvised weapons, and our unarmed strikes deal 1d4 damage. Most importantly for us, when we make an attack with an unarmed strike or improvised weapon, we can make a grapple attempt as a bonus action. This allows us to grapple without giving up our attack, and when we get extra attack, we will be able to shove, then attack, then bonus action grapple, leaving our opponent prone and restrained all in one turn. Also, as a Loxodon, we can perform an unarmed strike and grapple with our trunk, leaving one hand free for our weapon and the other for spellcasting. If our enemy weighs more than 80 pounds, we would have to use our arms to pick them up and carry them around, but with our powerful build, we can pack around some pretty large enemies. We get another 2nd level spell slot and add 2 more spells to our spellbook, and we want Rhyme's Binding Ice, which is an area of effect attack that deals cold damage and immobilizes the enemies that fail a save, making it much easier to arrest them. And Augury, which is a ritual divination that can provide us with a lot of useful information. We also learned another cantrip, and Lightning Lure is a good ranged attack that can also pull enemies back into range for us to grapple them. At 5th level Wizard, we get 2 3rd level spell slots and can add 2 spells to our book that can be of 3rd level. Our background adds Clairvoyance and Counterspell to our list, but they are both already on it. First, take Spirit Shroud. It gives us a solid boost to our melee damage, and Counterspell will allow us to shut down enemy spellcasters. Our cantrips also improve at this level. Ray of Frost and Lightning Lure gain an extra dice of damage, and Booming Blade now does 1d8 when it strikes the target and 2d8 when the target moves. At 6th level Wizard, from Blade Singer we get extra attack, letting us make 2 attacks instead of 1 when we make the attack action. We can also cast a cantrip instead of making one of those attacks. This opens up a number of options for us. First, as we mentioned earlier, we can now use one of our attacks to shove our opponent prone, then make an unarmed strike with advantage because they are prone, then make a bonus action grapple, reducing their movement to 0 so that they can't get up from being prone. This is the reason we don't want the Grappler feat. While Grappler gives advantage against creatures you are grappling, that is a small bonus to gain for spending a feat, especially since once you have shoved the opponent prone, you get advantage anyway. The second part of the Grappler feat allows you to make a grapple check to cause you and the opponent to be restrained is just bad. There's nothing about the restrained condition that you don't also get from having the opponent grappled and prone. To get this state, you have to make the same actions and rolls it would take to get them grappled and prone, and you have to cause yourself to be restrained in the process. Is just a bad feat all around. This extra attack allows us to cast Booming Blade and then attack again with our flail, getting extra damage from the cantrip without giving up an attack. This also works with ranged attacks, so if we are carrying a hand axe, we can throw it and follow up with a Ray of Frost. Also, if an opponent is out of our reach, we can cast Lightning Lure and pull them back into melee range and dealing lightning damage and then hit them with our flail. We also get another 3rd level spell slot and can add 2 more spells to our spellbook. We want to take Clairvoyance for one of our spells. Although sadly not a ritual, it is still a powerful divination to have available. Speak with That is also a strong divination that could also be taken instead. And for the second one, we want Blink. It is an excellent defensive spell that does not require concentration.
At 7th level Wizard, we gain 1 4th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to our book. That can be 4th level. Our background add Compulsion and Divination to our spell list. Greater Invisibility is a powerful offensively and defensively and has all sorts of utility options ranging from spying, infiltrating, recovering stolen goods, or just avoiding trouble that isn't part of your mission. And Charm Monster can be used to take in subjects peacefully or persuade others to help you with your investigation. At 8th level, we get another ability score improvement, and we're going to put 1 point on Intelligence, making it 16, and 1 in Wisdom, making it 12. We can also add 2 more spells to our spellbook, and we want Divination. It's a powerful ritual and one of the best information gathering spells in the game, although it often requires interpretation and does leave a lot to the DM's discretion. Polymorph is a spell with a lot of utility. It can turn an enemy into a small turtle or turn an ally into a giant beast. It can also be used outside of combat to turn a creature into a flying form for travel, or a rat to sneak into a building, or many other things. We can even cast it on ourselves, but we do get the mental statistics of the beast we turn into, so we'll probably be unable to cast spells or execute a complex plan. However, we retain our personality and goals, and can maintain concentration on the Polymorph spell. Now, a mammoth is only challenge rating 6, so it could become a huge elephant with massive strength and hit points, and should be able to use our Tavern Brawler feat as well. Next level, we could turn into a challenge rating 9 Mastodon for even more fun. Now check with your DM if you can use your Blade Song when polymorphed. Probably not, but it would be fun. We also get another 4th level spell slot. At 9th level Wizard, we get another 4th level spell slot and 1 5th level spell slot. We can add 2 spells to our spellbook that can be 5th level. Our background adds the spell Dominate Person to our list. Bigby's Hand is a versatile spell that can be used both offensively and defensively. The Grasping Hand can also be used to detain a powerful subject. Hold Monster is another way to restrain a subject. Also, if there is a need to take stronger action against a subject, attacks against held creatures have advantage and are automatic critical hits. At 10th level, we get Song of Defense from Bladesinger. When we take damage, we can use our reaction to spend a spell slot and prevent damage equal to 5 times the level of the spell slot used. We learn another cantrip, and Chill Touch is a ranged attack that deals necrotic damage and also prevents the target from healing and hinders undead enemies. At this level, undead enemies and regenerating enemies should both be pretty common. We gain another 5th level spell slot and can add 2 more spells to our book. As you are probably a fairly high-ranking Azorius at this point, you will need to travel, and will also have access to teleportation circles controlled by your guild, so the teleportation circle spell will be very useful. And Dominate Person is an extreme but very effective way to neutralize a subject and to get cooperation from reluctant suspects. The ethics of this is questionable, but you are an Azorius, so just make sure your superiors understand it was all in the line of duty. Now, if this is too much of a stretch of your ethics, Wall of Force is a powerful tool for defense or for containing enemies.
At 11th level Wizard, our cantrips improve again, adding another dice of damage, including an additional dice to both the primary and secondary effects of Booming Blade. We also gain a 6th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to our spellbook that can be of 6th level. Tensor's Transformation will make you an absolute beast in combat, able to match fighters and barbarians. While it prevents you from casting spells, it does not prevent you from using your Blade Song. For subjects that can't or shouldn't be taken alive, Disintegrate is an incredibly powerful damage spell that deals force damage, which is rarely resisted. It has the downside of potentially vaporizing the target, making it difficult to bring in the body back to your superiors. It can also disintegrate non-living items, removing barriers and other obstacles, including magical constructs such as a Wall of Force. At 12th level, we get another ability score improvement, and this is a tough choice. We need strength for our melee combat and grappling, and intelligence for our spell attack and save DCs. Considering the power of some of the spells, intelligence seems to be the better choice, but it could go either way. For this build, we would be adding it to intelligence, making it 18. We don't get any additional spell slots, but we can add 2 more spells to our spellbook. Fitzbin's Platinum Shield creates a ward around yourself or another. It gives the subject half cover, evasion, and resistance to several damage types. It is a bonus action to cast and can be moved from one subject to another at any time by using a bonus action. Alternatively, Globe of Invulnerability creates a 10-foot area that protects everyone in it from any spell of 5th level or lower. Mass Suggestion is a spell capable of controlling multiple subjects for up to 24 hours and does not require concentration. Or for handling a single powerful subject, Mental Prison can effectively remove a creature that doesn't save from the combat, and even if the creature does save, it takes 5d10 force damage. If the contained creature somehow moves out of the area it is trapped in by being pushed or making a melee attack through it, the creature takes 10d10 force damage, but the spell ends. At 13th level Wizard, we gain a 7th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to our spellbook. Force Cage is one of the best spells to trap an opponent. The large Bard Cage seems to be a good idea, but a lot of enemies at this level will be able to escape it. But the 10-foot cage is much harder to get out of. Spells won't pass through it. It extends into the ethereal plane. Shrinking, shape-changing, and gaseous form won't help. And even teleporting or plane shifting has a chance of fail, and it can't be dispelled by Dispel Magic. Prismatic Spray is a powerful and versatile attack that can infect a lot of creatures. At 14th level Wizard, from Bladesinger we gain Song of Victory, which adds our intelligence modifier to our damage of our melee weapon attacks. This will compensate for not having much invested in strength as a martial character. We can add 2 more spells to our spellbook, and Draconic Transformation from Fitzbin's Treasury of Dragons grants us some powerful abilities. Add as a bonus action to cast, and it lasts for 1 minute. It gives us wings that gives us a fly speed, blind sight, and a breath weapon that can be used as a bonus action every round, dealing 68 force damage. Whirlwind is an evocation that, as the name suggests, conjures a massive whirlwind that damages and restrains enemies. At 15th level Wizard, we gain an 8th level spell slot and can add 2 more spells to our spellbook that can be of 8th level or lower. Dominate Monster is an upgrade to Dominate Person that allows you to dominate non-humanoids, including dragons, fiends, celestials, and other creatures you probably having to deal with at this level. Ravnica is a crazy place where even the bad guys use angels, so it's best to be prepared. As we are also likely to be opposing the schemes of evil spellcasters, Feeble Mind is an excellent tool to shut down their plans.
Now at 16th level we get another ability score improvement, and we're going to make our strength 18 to improve our melee and grappling. We can also add 2 more spells to our book. Illusory Dragon creates an illusion of a dragon that moves and breathes at your command. The breath weapon can be fire, cold, lightning, acid, necrotic, or poison. The dragon frightens enemies that fail a save. It is tangible because it's made of shadow stuff, but is immune to all damaging conditions. You can use it to fight your enemies and possibly even as a mount, although the duration is only a minute. And Sunburst is a powerful evocation that deals radiant damage and blinds your enemies. At 17th level, we gain a 9th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to our book that can be 9th level. For the first, we want Wish. Even at its most basic, this spell is amazingly powerful and versatile. It can reproduce any spell of 8th level or lower without components or requirements. This includes spells from other lists, such as Resurrection and Heal. It can also do more powerful things, but this causes the caster harm, and the caster risks never being able to cast it again. Using it for more powerful things is risky, but could save the day. However, even with only using its primary power, it is a spell that you should never be without. And for the second, we want Invulnerability, which is very simple and very effective. For 10 minutes, you are immune to all damage. No loopholes, no exceptions. You could still be vulnerable to all sorts of things that don't cause damage, so be careful, but not being harmed by anything is still a huge advantage in a fight.
Yep.
And at 18th level, we gain Spell Mastery. Choosing a 1st and a 2nd level spell, when you have these prepared, you can cast them at their lowest level without spending a spell slot, and can do so as often as you like. For our 1st level spell, we want Shield. We probably use it frequently anyway, and now we have it every round that we don't use our reaction for something else. This is pretty close to having a flat +5 bonus to armor class, and an immunity to magic missile. And for our 2nd level spell, we are taking another one that we probably use most of the time, Mirror Image. Now we can have it going any time we're in a fight, or even have it going all the time, just in case we get in a fight. We also get to add 2 more spells to our spellbook, and the first we want is Imprisonment. There is a lot to the spell, and you should read the spell description, but it allows you to create a prison that will trap a creature forever. There are a variety of prison types to choose from, and there are a few ways in which a subject can be released. But locking away the bad guy for however you long think is appropriate is a very Azorius thing to do. And our next spell will be Gate. It creates a portal between 2 planes that can be passed through from either side, and it also allows you to speak the name of a creature on that plane and it will be drawn through the portal. You have no control over the creature and it can do whatever the DM thinks it would do, but hopefully by this point in your career there's some powerful celestials on your friends list, or at least a few that owe you a favor. And at 19th level we get a final ability score improvement and we will make our Constitution 18. More hit points and better concentration checks will help a lot, and it also increases our natural armor. We can also add 2 more spells to our spell list. At this point we have all spell levels pretty well represented, and as a wizard we have surely added a lot of other spells to our book over the years. So use these spells to round out any weaknesses you might have. At 20th level wizard we get Signature Spell, allowing us to choose 2 3rd level spells from our book. We always have these prepared and they don't count against the number of spells we can prepare each day. We can also cast these once per long rest without using a spell slot. For our choices we want another dispensive spell that we use frequently, and that is Blink. Between having this and having Shield and Mirror Image available at will, we're going to be incredibly well protected. For the second signature spell, we will add another layer of protection by choosing Counterspell. We add an additional 2 spells to our spellbook and should continue rounding out our collection. Now at 20th level we are a force to be reckoned with, and probably an important member of the Azorius Senate, with Celestials and mighty Sphinxes under your command. Your magic is a force to be feared by any who would disrupt the peace, but you are also no slouch in melee combat. When blade singing, you have an unarmored armor class of 20, with shield making it 25 at need, and are also protected by an assortment of spells from Blink and Mirror Image to Platinum Shield and even Invulnerability. Offensively, you have an assortment of powerful combinations of attacks and cantrips, and can wrestle even mighty fiends into submission. I also think this build does a good job of representing the nature of the Azorius. Our spells include protections, divinations, illusions, charms, counter magic, and dominations, all varied blue and white forms of magic. Even our damage spells call upon wind, cold, and radiant energy.
We hope you have all enjoyed this take on the Azorius Guild, and we hope we lived up to Anna the Elephant's expectations. If you like this character, please let us know in the comments below, along with any suggestions or build ideas. Next week, we continue exploring the guilds of Ravnica as we look at the rebellious Gruul. So please join us for that, and until next time, cheers!